will be the moderator for today's talk session. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for your participation for today's talk session called Bicara Ekonomi Semasa, or BESTalk Series 2022, Series number 6, organized by Center for Economic Development and Policy, CEDP, under Faculty of Business, Economics and Accountancy, FBEA. Before we get started, I request all participants to turn off your microphone during the talk session. And should you have any questions, you may use the chat box to answer your question and Q&A session later. Thank you for your understanding. Now, allow me to say a bit about the background of our guest speaker for today. Associate Professor Dr. Awangku Hassanal Bahar, Pengiran Bagul, is currently the Head of Tourism Management Program at Faculty of Business, Economics and Accountancy, FPEA, and a research fellow for Borneo Tourism Research Center, BTRC, and Center for Economics and Policy Development, CEDP, at UMS. He graduated with a business administration with honors in tourism, leisure and recreation from Coventry University, United Kingdom, a master's degree in tourism management from University of Surrey, United Kingdom, and a PhD in tourism management from Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. He was a visiting professor at National Cheng Kung University, Taiwan, National Institute of Technology, Fukushima College, Japan, and Tokushima University, Japan. He is also the founder and current editor-in-chief for both Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, East Asian Growth Area, or BIMPIAGA, Journal for Sustainable Tourism Development, and Journal of BIMPIAGA Regional Development. His global experience in tourism and sustainability comes from his previous role as a Hello, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Also, all my greetings just now. Was my voice heard?
The last part is gone, but that's
Okay,
okay.
Aiman, maybe we just continue. Continue, Aiman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. I will continue to the last part. His global experience in tourism and sustainability comes from his previous role as a working group member of United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, SDSN in Malaysia, and a member of the advisory board for International Sustainable Campus Network, ISCN, based in Zurich, Switzerland. And lastly, due to his achievements, he received the Golden Globe Tigers 2016 Social Innovation for the Leadership Award for Excellence in Social Innovation. He was also named 50 Most Impactful Social Innovator globally listed by World CSR Day in 2017. All right, now the long-awaited time has arrived. Without further ado, I would like to invite our guest speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Awangku Hassanal Bahar Pergian Bagul, to deliver his talk with the topic of shoring economy in tourism. Professor, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Ayman, for your kind words. And again, thank you, Dayanku, for inviting me or organizing this talk for CEPD, if I'm not mistaken. That and all right. So I hope that you guys can see in front of you is my slide. If you can't see it, let me know. Okay.
Ken, Dr. Ken.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. So I would like to talk about something that is very normal now in our lives, but maybe not so normal when 10 years ago. So this is what This is what I'm going to talk today. It's about sharing economy, but specifically in tourism. Okay. So what I'm going to do now would be to introduce what I am talking about and the trends. And there are two main components or main stories that are very prominent in sharing economy, which is Airbnb and Uber or Grab. And also there are and also I wanted to say to also share some of the things that are also considered a sharing economy, um, like freelancing, co-working, car sharing, and so on, which is not so big at this moment compared to Uber or Airbnb, but I think it's gonna be big in the future. So, and then a bit of discussion and conclusion on that. So when we started this sharing when I started to kind of like research on sharing economy, hang on, let me just say, when I started the research on sharing economy, and definitely there's a lot of terms out there. It also kind of like called collaborative economy. There's they call it a G economy as well. I can't remember what's the G stands for. And also there's a peer-to-peer sharing as well. So basically there's a lot of terms out there, and it is actually quite understandable because it is something still quite difficult to pinpoint the definitions for the sharing economy because it's just kind of complex, dynamic, and it's just keep changing. But if you want to kind of like put in a framework, so the simplest form of the sharing economy is basically a socio-economic ecosystem that built around sharing of human, physical, intellectual resources. Okay, so I think in a in a simpler way, basically it's like rather than I'm buying the goods myself or the service just for myself, I will get people to buy it with me, so it's gonna be cheaper, right? And then one of the things that hang on, let me just reshare my what do you call this? Yeah, okay, let me just reshare my hang on. Yeah, I think this should be okay. All right. So basically, in a sharing economy, you have in tourism, basically that is very important for us because a lot of the it covers two main components in tourism, which is accommodation and also transportations. And the thing is, I think it's kind of like a bless as a tourism scholar myself and as a tourist, whenever I'm out on holiday, on trips as well, that that these options are available for me, right? And for example, I would before Uber, or remember that we start Uber in Malaysia first, and then we have Grab afterwards, and then it was taken over completely by Grab. And before Uber and Grab, it is really, really hard to get a good experience if I want to go to KL and also to Penang, for example, because the taxis over there are very obnoxious. They are, they're very powerful in the sense that they condescend people, and even in Penang as well. Basically, they don't even bother to use meter, so they're just gonna charge people any price that they wanted to. So there's a lot of haggling, there's a lot of arguments afterwards, which basically affect your experience as a tourist. um and also we have that in Sabah as well. In Sabah there's no meters at all in the taxi before. um so when the Uber movement and also the Grab taken over, that was really, really good because it's really democratize the operations. Basically, we can actually just choose taxi that we wanted to. The price has been agreed, and the price changes based on the time, the peak hours, and so on. And also, and if you don't like the taxi driver or the Uber driver, then you can just like give them not 5 star, but and you can give your feedback as well. But the conventional taxi you can't. So these are the things that actually, as a tourism scholar, is quite interesting phenomenon. But also as a tourist as well, it's kind of like a godsend as well. But obviously, this will take over some of these businesses from the traditional businesses. I see that I have seen like with my own eyes where basically not riot, but like a blockade by taxi drivers unions and associations, you know, and then they were harassing the Uber driver at that time. So I've seen that firsthand, and basically there was some kind of like in a way almost like a violent thing going on as against of this kind of sharing economy. And now the thing is, I think we have to contribute to the internet that have changed um, all of these things, isn't it? So the internet actually caused this intimidation to the tour operator and travel agent as well. Before that, we have to go to agent to book our tickets, but now we actually just can book our tickets on our own from the website, which is can be much cheaper if you most of the time. But it also the internet also democratized how we going to choose our accommodations as well. So this is basically again, and a lot of people when they grew up or they were born with the internet, they become more independent. They want to do everything on their own. So, and then the data has been much more bigger now. We're going to go to 5G soon, and also there's always going to be a technological advancements as well, so the sharing economy will be increased very fast from now to the future. So you can see that in 2013 it started with just 5%, but they actually this is basically it's a lot of things like on-demand staffing, shared mobility, hospitality, financings as well. They predicted that in 2025, which is not long from now, this is like 3 years in the future, that there will be more, at least 50% at least in a developed country, not in our country yet. I think in our countries maybe should be less than that. So let's talk about there's two phenomenon that's actually quite huge and basically propel the sharing economy practices. The first one is Airbnb. So it's founded in 2018, and I am a member of Airbnb, and I do use them as well. Now the thing is, when I use them, how do I make money? By the way, so basically they're just like a middle person. It's like they own the marketplace but online, so it's best really on nothing. So they take 3% commission from every booking from the host and 6% to 12% from the guest. And basically I'm glad with this one because I don't use Airbnb in all countries. Like if I go around Malaysia, I don't need to do a Airbnb because in Malaysia, I find that the hotel are still comfortably affordable. Um, and also but I used Airbnb a lot in Japan before. And why Japan? And Japan also, I think, I can afford the accommodation, but the accommodation over there, it comes with a certain size. The size is something that sometimes I feel is very claustrophobic. So by using Airbnb, I'm able to get not cheaper, but probably the same price, but the size of the accommodations are bigger and with complete amenities like kitchen, laundry, and stuff like that. So I think it's you feel much more breathable if you go to Japan. You can breathe much more in a spacious accommodation rather than the normal size Japanese accommodation. So this is how I operate with Airbnb. I do not myself offer Airbnb to people as well because I have no time for that. But maybe who knows in the future, because a lot of the Airbnb users are usually Airbnb hosts as well. One of the things that I think that affects the economy is basically if you look in Malaysia as well, but people started to buy second properties just for this Airbnb or just for rental, you know. So the middle class, populations, they basically have an access or have like a sure access to expensive housing markets, you know. And for those who actually are, going for the rundown or not so um, expensive markets, but they buy the not the cheap one, but the fixer upper, as we said. So they do the fixer upper thing, and the whole area can be gentrified. Okay, so one of the things that I think that affect the economy is when people buy more properties just to make more money on these things, because it is now very possible to make money with Airbnb in an expensive market. Then what happens is the prices of the property goes up, and this is not for locals because we have to bear with that the rising prices. And of course, with the prices goes up, so does the taxes is based on the property as well. So we are actually pay increasing taxes. um, I think it's not so much obvious probably in Malaysia, but it's more obvious in the Western country and so on. Okay. And one of the things about Airbnb as well, I think this is I'm very sure in Sabah, it is was seen as a threat from the hotel operators. So they were like very against Airbnb because that takes the share market away. So there's a lot of kind of like issues coming up from the hotel operators as well. And then DBKK get involved, and then and then suddenly all these rules comes up and things like that. I mean, if you have like a property, you cannot list it with the Airbnb because your property is not a hotel or accommodation and things like that. So these are the kind of things that Airbnb is having issues in a lot of countries. And one of the things that Airbnb actually did before in Japan as well, they have also is issued with this one, and I think they revised some kind of regulations, and then they actually um introduce a permit for the Airbnb, and I think about maybe it's about 20,000 listing just gone just like that. So because the permit basically it makes it expensive and makes it kind of like not feasible for to sell the stays in Airbnb. Right. Again, I love this. Let's just talk about Uber because I didn't get a lot of data from Grab, but I know Grab is a very uh, international company, and also is one of the highest IPO has been listed in NYSE as well. So actually, but I don't get a lot of Grab because Uber has more information, okay, and because it's older, okay. So it's basically now it's available in 633 cities, and then again, the Uber has become a phenomenon and it has become a lingo. So like I'm getting an Uber, so I'm Ubering. This is kind of like a normal already. So the thing is, unlike the taxi drivers, Uber drivers, they don't have special licenses. They don't have that permit that what taxi drivers need to have. They use their own vehicle. Sometimes they have a discounted fare rides. And then also it makes, basically, uh, it's very able to access potential workers so that you can actually getting bigger and things like that. So, well, the Uber basically, the thing is, what I like about this kind of system, this sharing economy, basically is you can rank your taxi drivers, the taxi drivers can rank you. If you're not such a nice person as a passenger, they can rank you, and actually people can reject you as a passengers and vice versa. And I think that is very democratic, and then that's very fair. There's a sense of justice in that as well. So I think this is actually quite a good system in my opinion. And oops, sorry. And then one of the thing about this as well, again, I remember that in the first in the beginning, I think the taxi drivers are not very happy, but you can see that now almost all taxi drivers are not there anymore, isn't it? Right now everybody is doing the Uber and things like that. And in Uber, because it's based on rating system, then you have to be professional, and because and if you don't get the enough stars, then you are not allowed, or you have to be retrained as well, which is I actually quite like, because remember that in tourism it's all about experience. And if you have a great experience in a resort, but then when you taxi, your airport transfer experience is horrible, it will mar the whole of your experience, of your holiday, isn't it? So that is the thing that about Uber, or Grab. There's also that we call Lyft as well. Now, so those are the two big things. Now there's a few small things as well. So there are other sharing, in the sharing economy, there are other businesses as well, like freelancing with TaskRabbit, Care.com, and Upwork. Upwork is available in Malaysia. Basically, it's like you source out your work to someone else who can do your work remotely. Okay, and co-working is basically it's a place that you do you share spaces. Basically you go there, so there's you don't need meeting room every day. You only you rent the meeting room the day that you want them to be rented, isn't it, right? Okay. So this is the very popular among basically like a nomad professionals, like the freelancers, entrepreneurs, telecommuters, and things like that. I would say nomad, because they just keep moving around. And if you see the picture over there, that's in Regis Suryak in KK. So we do have that one as well. And I remember that one of my niece who work with AirAsia do not have offices here, if I'm not mistaken. She's a sales manager for Sabah and Sarawak, and she works in Regis. So this is where, because she sometimes she doesn't go to work, so she doesn't pay for that. It's a very AirAsia thing, if you can feel that, right? Another one also, we also have a car sharing as well. This is again still new, but I believe that in Malaysia they started to do the car sharing now for electric car. Um, and then also the car sharing, basically, if you see in Paris, that you have that electric, cars, and then you swipe your card, and then you just drive around and send it back to the station again. So there's one, and that is a kind of like almost traditional, but the sharing car, like you use your apps as well. And then of course accommodation sharing as well. And I think for tourism students, couch surfing is probably very popular. It's, So basically, you couch surfing. Let's just like an Airbnb. You either become a host or you become the client, or you can become both as well. So any other other companies, they are also peer-to-peer lending. Okay, so this one, I don't correct me if I'm wrong. There's none available yet in Malaysia to as well. But I would say that when I was talking about it as well, when I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like, if I'm an along, I would probably like this peer-to-peer because it give me a kind of like what do you call that, official platform to lend money. So that's probably not a very good thing. Okay. And of course, in fashions as well. So we have like places that we can rent clothes. So I think this My Rent Way is a Malaysian company, so they rent clothes as well. If you can see the photo here, it's like Raya for rent, for Raya too. So you don't need to own Baju Raya anymore, because sometimes you have like maybe if you're popular or you want to become a popular person, you go to like 10 houses, so you cannot see it in one, in the same clothes outfit. So you just sell 10. So you rent them, which is cheaper options as well. And then, of course, there's also a resource sharing. This is basically based on the neighborhood. It used to be like more of an understanding, more of like neighborhood. They sometimes have newsletter. I'm not talking about the neighborhood here because I haven't seen it yet. But like in places that I lived before, like in the UK or in New Zealand, they really have this kind of like all the sharing resources that they do, but now it's becoming more like organized with the apps, so it's so they can borrow like tools or kitchen appliances and toys and things like that, especially like like uh baby stuff that's actually have a very short lifespan in terms of usage, but it's very expensive as well. So that one is actually sometimes can be useful in certain neighborhood as well. Now, one of the good thing about sharing economy is basically I would say that because you don't really own the product, and also because everybody is contributing to that as well, to the purchase of that. So basically the price should be lower. And sometimes it makes sense it's lower because, for example, in hotel, they do have to have a permit. They do have to have like a lot of the compliance audit and things like that. And that really makes up of the cost of running a hotel. But for Airbnb, they do not have those things. So they don't have to burden the cost, so they can charge lower. Okay. So prices are often lower and things like that. Yeah. And then, of course, other positive impacts would be, uh, I think we can see that especially during the COVID, that people lost their jobs, and then the sharing economy like the Uber, and the Grab delivery, Food Panda, and things like that, that really makes up all these jobs for people, who lost their jobs. So basically, it's the entry level is actually quite easy and quite good for anybody who needs to be there. And then, of course, and again, people who actually like they lost their job and they do baking at home, so they do actually use all these, delivery services, which is based on the sharing economy, to do their business as well. So these are the thing that we have seen firsthand during the what do you call that during the COVID-19 for the past 2 years. And then of course there are also things that, for example, that you have access to Airbnb in a remote place, which one of my friend went to the north of Norway, and there's no the hotel is very expensive, so the only thing that she can afford, there's no hostel, but there's an Airbnb. So she managed to get the Airbnb, and and managed to kind of like not spend so much money on just a hotel. because usually in the remote places, hotel it's going to be expensive. And of course, there's again, it's when you share, there's a sense of community as well, and also sharing. Also, they encourage for us to communicate and to collaborate as well. So if you're in a co-working space, then but basically your ideas will be fused with other ideas as well. It will be synthesized, and you probably get much better ideas as well, right? And of course, and really like the review part. I mean, I know that review is self-governance. I mean, you can be like a very bitter person and give a bad review. But then most of the time, then when people give review, then this is something that we like. Oh, okay, maybe this is something is correct. Maybe we haven't seen that. Maybe we don't feel it, but it's something that we can take or ponder about. So review is always going to be good, and in tourism, always a review is always going to be good as well. It's a feedback thing. Remember that feedback is important in tourism, and in the Japanese culture, if the Japanese do not like you, they will not give feedback because they want you to do the same wrong thing that you're doing and fail. So if they like you and they want you to stay, so they will give you feedback that can improve your business. So this is how important feedback is. And then also again, employment would be there. This is positive impact from the sharing economy as well. Although it might actually lose some jobs, like the taxi driver, they lose their jobs. But I would say that the Uber or Grab, they actually also kind of like offer the new way of doing jobs too. So it could be good as well. But I'm very sure that at that time it was very difficult for them because they probably tied with loans and stuff like that. And of course, it's always good for every time I talk to Airbnb owner and also the Uber or Grab owners as well. They're very happy with what they're doing because it's very flexible. And they have a target basically for themselves. So most of the time they will like do 20 rides, for example, and then after 20 rides is kind of like a bonus to them. So it's either they want to work hard or they want to don't work hard. It's really up to them as well. So it's really how much you want to gain and how much you're willing to work for it. So that is the best way. But of course, it will come with the negative impacts as well because this is self-employment, so it doesn't come with benefits. It doesn't come with like medical benefits and so on. So could be like the negative side of that as well. So we're coming to the negative impacts of a sharing economy. Again, one of the things that what do you call that? The Airbnb has done is actually to increase the rates of rental costs and also house prices as well. And this is not very good. And in tourism, this is kind of like it's not normal, but it is something that we expected. When tourists come to our places and then they started to kind of demand things and willing to pay higher prices than the locals, it will automatically jack up the price for that area. I know a lot of my friends always complain that KK has really expensive houses or really expensive food and things like that, and I agree with them. And this is because of we are based on, our economy is based on tourism, isn't it? So, so when people like pay 30 ringgit for lunch, for them it's probably that less than, 10 euros, which is acceptable for them. But for us, 30 ringgit is really significant. So the kind of like this effect, that actually increase the price, that basically, not a very good impacts from the sharing economy. And also we have like this negative impacts as well on the privacy and safety concerns. Basically, for me, I think on this one is I have considered some because I read few of the cases like sexual harassment in the Uber and also a hidden camera in a hotel. Sorry, in an Airbnb but I've seen also it has been done before on taxis as well, and also on hotels as well. So for me, this is it's not basically exclusive to sharing economy products, but this is exclusive to that, accommodation and transportations. All right. One of the things that in sharing economy, there's no guarantee. Now, when you basically go to Airbnb, whatever the description and things like that, it's not going to be there. The photo may be different and so on. And of course, if you do the freelancing, it might be not the quality that you wanted to. And also, basically, because the what do you call that the rules and regulations of sharing economy is not really from up yet. It's not really well developed, so there's less rights that we have as a person. In fact, as a uh, I always read all these stories about Airbnb. One of the things that I was advised to, and which is I think is just kind of like just in case you have to do it. It's like whenever you leave your Airbnb room or house, you just take a video of that as well until you put on the key, so that you know that if there's any disputes on your exit, then you at least you have an evidence. So to be honest, like to do that all the time is kind of like weird, and it's kind of like give you like this sense of insecurity. So this would be probably a negative things on or for Airbnb. So, in conclusions, I think that this is something that's growing, and I'm very sure that we can't really stop that. And the sharing things basically is gonna be more. So now we share cars, and also what do you call that? Houses, but there would be more that we can share in the future, you know. And obviously, the impacts that we don't want is basically is the while we do the sharing economy because you like the lower prices, it gives competition to the traditional businesses so they can actually keep their price in check. But also like the housing prices as well, because the more and more demands for the houses to be turned into Airbnb has actually drive up the prices too. This is again including the gentrification, that all the places that used to be like cheap and then they become they're fixed up to become Airbnb for the tourism, then of course it will rise up the rental prices over there too. Okay, so I think that's what I'm gonna share with you today. I hope that is as as detailed as I can and as much as I can from my experience as well. And also, I hope that it is not too complicated. I think the spirit of the best talk basically is for us to talk about something simple that's that's not very academic as well. So I hope you enjoy the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the insightful sharing about sharing economy just now. It seems that we are done with the talk session, and I'm sure all the students have lots of questions to ask our guest speaker today. So without wasting any time, we will move on to the Q&A session. All participants, you may turn on your microphone to ask questions directly to our guest speaker, or you may use the chat box to ask your questions. Thank you.
Well, if you have no questions, maybe I can actually share my experience in UMS on the co-working things. Before this, we have during COVID time. So what we do is, there's a lot of restrictions to enter UMS. So what I do is I go to a cafe, which is also a co-working space as well, in Bandaran. I mean, it's regardless of that, basically, and I think that having me having a place where I can work, get my coffee, and then again I can ask few people because I know them as well. Um, also they are from UMS too, and it makes the work much more productive, I believe, because over here our offices are maybe the idea of our offices is maybe about 20, 30 years ago. We have like individual offices. It's very, what they call that, very private. But I mean, for me, consultation by private, yes, you do need office, but I also need to do a lot of collaborations as well. So I would really would like to be in a more open space. And also I think Dr. Bamini, she is uh, very much into researching the co-working space as well. I think she has been trying to do one in UMS. So if any of you can give a support to her as well, that would be great.
Okay, Professor, since there are no questions from the chat box, I have a personal question to you.
Sure.
In your opinion, Professor, will the sharing economy appeal to fresh graduates and maybe even including the non-hospitality graduates?
Okay. I think the younger generations. So now you have the millennials and also the Gen Z, and then now you have the Gen Alpha, right? So these are people who are become much more open than the previous generations. So they are open to all these possibilities, and they are open to all this, all this, what do you call that? Um, all this, I don't know, like for example, renting clothes. This is something that for my generation is kind of like, okay, this is strange, but for them, like, yeah, I don't really need the clothes for so long because most of the time that they would probably buy and sell, isn't it? So renting much makes it a bit more easier for them. So for them, they are much more open to this kind of experience as well. So I would say that for the new graduates, sharing offices and things like that would be no problem with them. It's no problem with them. Yes. It doesn't need to be on the hospitality students and things like that. But for example, as when you travel, then you probably want to have more budget friendly places, and you would definitely will look into Airbnb because they usually have a cheaper ones with bigger spaces for what do you call that, for accommodations. So you're probably more drawn into that as one as well because of the prices, because of the space as well, and and going like, for example, like going like maybe the hotel is there, like this is the main road, the hotel is here, and then the apartment, the Airbnb is just probably like at the back, so you have to walk a bit, but you guys will not mind just walking a bit just to get into that. So yes, you will probably will be embracing the sharing economy much more than the older generation will be. Mm,
Thank you, Doctor.
no problem.
Okay, Mr. Chairperson, may I chip in?
Yeah, sure. Kaja,
Uh,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, well done, Dr. Hassanal. It's very good sharing. It's just that I would like to highlight on the point that when you mentioned that in terms of protection for those, those involved in Airbnb and also Grab and whatsoever. Just to share with you, especially the students, I know that our students are very active into online business and so forth. They're very good in that. Okay, but I noted that many those are involved in co-sharing, they are not aware that they can contribute to SOCSO and also to EPF under self-employed person. Okay, for instance, under SOCSO, they only contribute like 13 ringgit per month. That is the minimum. And I think 13 ringgit a month is very, very affordable because the protection given is similar to any injury caused while in employment or any disease that you suffer out of your employment. But many people did not take opportunity because when I referred to the last OXO report last year, I think about 5.4% of those self-employed persons contributed to this scheme. So here I am also making macam war-war lah for those who are going into going to do your own business. Please make use of this scheme. Okay, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Right. I think if I retired early and got my own Airbnb, I will do that definitely. Thank you, Puan Sharija, for sharing that. That is something new to me. And thank you for enlightening us with that.
All right, Doctor, I have another question.
Sure.
What do you think about the potential sharing economy in tourism Sabah right now?
Okay. I think definitely the potential is there. If you look at the prediction just now, in 2025, in the Western country, it's going to be 50% of the economy will be sharing economy. We are not going to be far from that, so it's just going to be growing. So I would say this, for example, like if you notice that because of the COVID, and we actually uh uh, basically more and more people travel domestically, and so there's a lot of the what do you call that? A lot of these new places that like accommodations that run by people, local people, has been created a lot, a lot. Doesn't matter in the city or in the village as well. So, and these will be, um, I think at the end of the day, will be basically, absorbed into, or I think turn into a sharing economy. Because at the end of the day, for example, if you have like operations in Mangat Darao, for example, Kampung Darao, and for you to put up like just word by mouth, basically it's you have that certain amount of impact. But if you put up in Airbnb and put it as an experience, then you can make, you can make that as a career. So definitely it's gonna be there, and this gonna stay. Aiman?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
okay?
I
Okay,
heard you.
perfect.
Thank you. All right, seems that we have no more questions from the floor. I think that would conclude our Q&A session. Now, I think we will proceed with the group photo session with our guest speaker today. So I would like to ask all participants to turn on your cameras for our group photo session with the speaker. Right, we have about six to seven people here. Oh, a lot already. Okay, any more students? You can turn on your cameras. Okay, I will now take our photos here. Okay, get ready. One, smile. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's all. So to all participants, I've already pasted the attendance link in the chat box. You all may refer to it. And before concluding our program, allow me to say my gratitude and thanks as the moderator for today's talk to all participants who supported our program just now. I'm Faris, on behalf of the organizers team, apologize for any mistakes and inconveniences throughout conducting today's program. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Professor, for the sharing. And thank you to all participants. You may now leave the room. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Awangku Hassanal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aiman. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.